We finally have a Ninja Gaiden game after 13 long years. Published by Microsoft Studios, this game is a day one Game Pass release. It's also on PlayStation. This game doesn't use Unreal Engine 5 like the Ninja Gaiden 2 remake. Instead, Platinum Games chose to use their in-house Platinum engine for Ninja Gaiden 4. That's probably a good thing because there's a focus on performance for this fast-paced action game, including 120 FPS mode on consoles. So let's have a look at how Ninja Gaiden 4 runs on Xbox Series S versus X versus PS5 versus PS5 Pro. Starting with the game size. It's a small game, 37.1 gigabytes on Xbox, but a much smaller 23.6 gigabytes on PlayStation 5 for some reason. Loading times are up next, continuing from dashboards relatively fast, taking 26 seconds on PlayStation and about 30 seconds on Xbox. I didn't show it here, but Xbox also has quick resume. That feature is ideal for single player games and can get you back into action in about 10 seconds. The first 20 minutes of Ninja Gaiden 4 are sort of underwhelming in terms of the graphics. It almost looks like a last gen PS4 or Xbox One title, even though it's not releasing on those consoles. But once I played through a few stages, it started to look good to me. The game can look impressive, especially with its rain and wind weather effects. There's quite a few graphic settings here, especially on PS5 Pro, so I have a lot to cover and compare. Let's start with the tiny Xbox Series S, which thankfully gets two modes: a 30 FPS prioritized graphics mode and a 60 FPS prioritized frame rate mode. The game can seem quite blurry on the Series S. It's running as low as 700p in prioritized graphics and as low as 500p on prioritized frame rate. It all then gets upscaled to 1440p using FSR. As expected, there's quite a difference between the weaker Series S and the more powerful Series X. Series X delivers much higher resolution in graphics mode. Both common and upscale numbers are higher, but it's not just the resolution. The detail of the objects and number of objects at times, it's all higher quality on the Series X. The lighting and shadows are also higher quality on the Series X. Comparing prioritized frame rate mode between the two consoles shows a similar trend. I also compared Xbox Series S's 30 FPS mode to the Series X's 60 FPS mode, and you can see how the Series X is higher resolution and better graphics even at double the frame rate. Series X, PS5 and PS5 Pro also get those same two graphic modes, prioritized graphics and prioritized frame rate. Graphics provides the highest resolution, graphics quality, and even higher quality shadows. If I'm being honest though, I personally don't see a reason why the 30 FPS mode even exists here for a game like this. Prioritized graphics mode between the Xbox Series X, PS5 and PS5 Pro is essentially identical. 1440p common that gets upscaled to 4K using FSR with a target frame rate of 30 FPS. This mode does provide the best visual fidelity. Perhaps a PS5 Pro runs slightly higher average resolution due to its slightly better hardware, but that's about it. Similar comparison here for prioritized frame rate between the three consoles. In this case, the common resolution is around 900 to 1080p and then gets upscaled to 4K using FSR. Frame rate target is 60 FPS. From this side by side, you can see it's similar on the Series X, the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro, but once again the Pro is likely running a very slightly higher average resolution. There's also 120 FPS mode on the Series X and the PS5 consoles. The weaker Series S doesn't get this ultra high frame rate mode. Here the graphics get a further hit to achieve those higher frame rates. The resolution's closer to 700p common and then gets upscaled to 1080p using FSR. This might be a bit too blurry for some, especially if you play on a larger 4K TV. And for a single player game, perhaps 120 FPS isn't really needed. Most players should be satisfied with 60. PS5 Pro gets a fourth exclusive mode called Prioritized Frame Rate Pro. This takes around 1080p to 1440p common resolution and then upscales to 4K using TSSR. The goal here is to make the game look as good as prioritized graphics mode, but now with 60 FPS. Does the Pro accomplish that? Sometimes it does. That 30 FPS prioritized graphic mode still gonna look the best. There does seem to be a difference of how well PSSR works from stage to stage. I would say it's better during the indoor stages versus the outdoor stages. PS5 Pro does get one more exclusive graphics setting, and that's ability to unlock the frame rate. I'll cover that a little bit later in the video. Let's now talk about the FPS performance. Xbox Series S and Series X are shown first. For some reason, the Series S has an unlocked frame rate and prioritized graphics. There's no setting for it. It's just unlocked by default. With that, the Series S runs in the low 30s most of the time, but occasionally does touch 40 FPS. Xbox Series X, as you can see here, is locked to 30. Same thing with the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro. For the most part, the three consoles stay locked to 30 FPS, but there are some minor stuttering and drops of a frame here and there. Seems to be a similar trend on all three, and I wouldn't say one console is better than the other here. Prioritized frame rate is shown next. First, the Xbox Series S versus the Series X. For the most part, the frame rate's locked to 60 FPS. There's no real issues, just some minor single frame rate drops. But the Series S especially does get these significant drops into the low to mid 50s when the game switches to those finishing blow cameras. You can see those drops right here. The more powerful Xbox Series X, the base PS5, the PS5 Pro aren't as bad in those same situations. In fact, most of the time they don't drop at all. In all the numbers I looked at, they were pretty much locked to 60 FPS in all these different scenarios. When you're running the map, when you're fighting multiple enemies, when you're fighting bosses, even when the camera angle and the scenes kind of jump all over the place, it's really 60 FPS on the three consoles. The rare drops that you do get, they're perhaps 1 to 2 frames at most, but that's about it. PS5 Pro's exclusive Pro mode also runs a solid locked 60 FPS without any issues or drops. You can see a bit of gameplay right here with that FPS counter shown on that Pro mode. Now let's talk about that 120 FPS mode. This is the mode where the big drops happen. There are stages and times where all three consoles deliver a locked 120 FPS for long stretches. In this case, I mean only minor drops of a couple of frames, the odd times. But then there's other parts of the game where I saw dips closer to 100 FPS. The good news though, at least the game and all three consoles, they stay above 100 FPS almost all the time. PS5 Pro does seem to be more stable and higher FPS compared to Xbox Series X and the base PS5. Overall, I think this is pretty good. Not a lot of developers actually take that risk of even trying that 120 FPS mode on console, so it's at least nice to see that mode here. The execution isn't flawless, but it's better than I expected. If you recall, I mentioned earlier about PS5 Pro's exclusive feature that lets you unlock the frame rate. Well, I tested that as well. Here's prioritized graphics, prioritized frame rate, and that third Pro mode on the PS5 Pro, all three with the frame rate unlocked this time. With that, the PS5 Pro delivers between 50 and 60 FPS in graphics mode. Prioritized frame rate mode with its FSR upscaling hovers anywhere between 70 to 90 FPS, and that exclusive Pro mode with PSSR upscaling gets around 60 to 65 FPS. One more thing I want to talk about are the cutscenes. There's two types of cutscenes. Ones that are integrated with the gameplay. Those ones target the same frame rate as the gameplay. You can see a side-by-side of a 60 FPS target as well as a 120 FPS target here. There's also standalone cinematics. These are visually the best looking, but the frame rate is of course locked to 30 FPS regardless of the graphic mode settings. And that, my friends, is everything you need to know about Ninja Gaiden 4 on Xbox Series S versus Series X versus PS5 versus PS5 Pro. I'm enjoying this game and would highly recommend it. The storyline might not be the greatest, but the combat, the level design, the way you move through the stages, it's pretty impressive. I would rate this game 8.5 out of 10. For the rest of the video, check out some more side-by-side gameplay with that FPS counter shown.
Push my connection. Misaki! I'm glad you're safe too. Oh, I can manage. Treat Hill. Where are we? I'll catch up with you as soon as I can.
Umi, I'm gonna find a place to land.
Got it. I'll update your travel route.